When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from consent of the governed, that wherever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers on such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And according to all experience hath shown, it says shewn, that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when long train of abuse and usurpation, pursuing inevitably by the same object, Jesus Christ, this is long. This is
from Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah, this is from Ghostbusters.
I guess what I thought.
Well, I
thought I remembered that scene, so
I was trying to get through it. I just Joe Biden the fuck out of that though, and then
just I in with go.
And then I laughed it off like Kamala Harris. It's like I'm the worst of both worlds.
Just go, you know the thing, or just anyway.
So it goes on to say, the history of the present King of Britain is a history of repeat injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of the abusive absolute tyranny over the states. To prove this, let these facts be submitted to a candid world. And then it goes on to say all of the things that King George and England did to the colonies that caused them to declare their own independence from the crown. Now, my question to you guys, and this is going to be kind of the point of the chat tonight, is if we were to write a Declaration of Independence today, what would our list of grievances be? Can we start making a list of grievances?
Oh, hell yeah. There's any number of grievances there are, right? It's articulating them in a way that is both layman and descriptive and detailed enough to come off as well as the Declaration of Independence, which was very well written, especially, well, for the time, it was very well written. Most people today don't understand half the shit they're saying because people talk different back then. But yeah, the list of grievances is long. It's just, how do you articulate that in a manner that everybody can easily understand?
Well, I would say the first grievance I would say is, and I don't know how I would say it if I was writing it to the government declaring our independence.
Yeah.
But the fact that they've been devaluing our money for the last 120 years, 110 years.
But is it our money, really? It's a federal note. It's their money.
I understand, but we ceded our power to them to create that money so that, you know, it could, like, do things for our society and for us. And in doing so, they backed it by a gold standard and they guaranteed yada, yada, yada. and they haven't lived up to their guarantee because they couldn't back it up with a gold standard anymore. They had to like get rid of it once and replace it with a new price and then get rid of it altogether. And ever since then, like the fucking price of the dollar has just spiraled out of control to the point where in the last couple of months, it's been what, 5-6% per month?
Yeah. So as far as the dollar goes, the dollar is backed by our wealth, the wealth that we, the citizens, generate, because the government doesn't generate wealth. It's backed by our wealth, which is backed by our labor, whatever that might be collectively, you know, our labor as individuals, as people that go off to work and go create wealth for ourselves and for others, right? So technically the dollar is a federal note, but it is completely 100% backed by our labor and us. So because they don't create anything. The government creates nothing. They don't generate anything. They don't create anything. They don't create wealth. So it comes from us.
And a lot of us, in quotes, don't want to fucking work anymore.
That's true. I'll be honest, I don't want to fucking work anymore.
I mean, that's great if only a couple of people are doing it, you know, but like everybody doesn't want to work anymore, you know?
Yeah. You know what my biggest grievance is with the federal government? Quite simply, they have, and I don't know how I would word this eloquently, but they have strayed from the intention of the foundation of our country in all aspects. They have strayed. There isn't any way in which was laid out by the founders of our country that they have not strayed away from the original intent of the founding of our country, of the founding documents, of the amendments to the Constitution, of everything. The way it was laid out, they have strayed from everything. There is nothing that is either the same or maybe even better as far as how the government treats its citizens from the original intent of both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. It has only gotten worse. The government has only gotten worse towards its citizens in every way in those first 10 amendments and in every way that the Constitution laid out.
I was trying to think of a way that that's not true, and I was like, well, the obvious fucking answer to that is slavery, right? Like there were slaves back then, and like the original documents didn't really apply to you if you were a slave, right? It was only free men that it applied to.
They tried to get it in there, but they knew that they would not. Everybody would sign it if they did that. Well, so unfortunately.
But I was thinking about like this conversation that we were having. I don't know if it was last night or what. I was drunk, but we were talking about how being in prison, right? Like, oh, it sucks if you're in prison because you only get to like go outside a little bit here and there, and like you can't just like up and go to the mountains or to the beach and have fun. And then I was thinking about it, like, dude, all I do is like work and then go home, and then I'm like too tired from working to do anything. So I like don't go to the mountains and don't do anything.
Yeah, you're like a corporate slave. Like,
right.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. That kind of negates that whole argument. Is where I was going though. From a certain point of view, I'm not saying it does, but it kind of does.
The only difference is you choose not to go to that, and they can't.
Right, and I could always choose not to go to work anymore, but then I'd be choosing to like live off my savings and potentially go broke because I can't find a decent job in time and yada yada. And then if you find another, it's like the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence till you get to the other side of the fence, right? Like,
yep.
Except for slaves. That's
but
pretty much anything I can think of is better than that. That is not green grass from any point of view.
Yeah, it's less about the greenness of the grass, I think.
I mean, it might be green grass, but you just...
So whenever the Constitution was written and ratified and everything, didn't you have to own property to be able to vote?
Yes, originally.
Yeah.
So, like, the removal of that, I think, was the start of something of the downtrodden.
Well, it became a situation where, and I understand that, but it became a situation as the country grew. There was just too many people here.
And
such a large portion of the population would have had no say in how government runs. If that remains.
Agree. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I understand it. I also understand that if you let property owners, if people had to own property to vote, they obviously have a bigger stake and are going to probably be a little bit more informed about what's going on in the world and what's going on in the country and in politics. And that's a good thing. But the problem is, if we had left it the way it was, Bill Gates would fucking have more power, voting power, than fucking anybody else. And that's fucked up.
No, you still only get to vote once. So, like,
well, what I'm saying is, but then the people that want to go around and buy up all the land are the ones that get to vote. I mean,
true.
It wouldn't take very long.
They've done the same thing though, in effect today, right? Because it's like the plurality of votes wins. So we've got like these mass numbers of uneducated, like smooth brain people out there, and all we got to do is just propagandize them enough to get them riled up enough point them in a certain direction, and then let them go. And they're like little wind-up dolls, and they'll just march down the road in the direction that you pointed them and do the thing that they're supposed to do. They're useful idiots, obviously, and we know this, but that's the way that they do it now. Like,
true.
Whatever the rules are, there's going to be a way to game the rules, and there's going to be those that wish to game the rules, and those that have the wherewithal and the power to do so.
True. I still say it's at least there's a better shot than if think if we got to where we are right now. Think of all your Bill Gates and your George Soros and your Bezos and the people that run the banks and the people and the people that run the Fed and your fucking Clintons and your Obamas and all these people that have collectively billions and billions and billions and trillions of dollars or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know if they have trillions, but lots of fucking money, right? Picture it today, except people who own the land are the only ones that get to vote. How much land do you think all these fuckers would own?
Yeah.
How much land would they own right now? And it'd be like, and I'm exaggerating here, obviously, but it'd be like 100 people that vote because they would have been consistent. The Rockefellers would have spent the last fucking 100 years doing nothing but buying land.
True.
That's all they would have done. They would have just bought fucking land. I mean, they already bought a fuck ton of land. Imagine how much they would have bought if they knew, well, fuck, if we can just buy up all the land, you're fucking, what's the name of that group that meets? Bilderberg, right? These motherfuckers were all got together and been like, well, let's just buy up all the fucking land. We'll technically own it. Yeah, people can build apartments and houses and things like that on it, but we'll own the land. And then we fucking make all the decisions. You know what I mean? Like, that's where we would be right now.
We're at that same point, though, where they make all the decisions. It just took them more steps to get there.
It just takes some more steps. But I think in those more steps, that at least gives us a fighting chance. You know what I mean?
What it does is gaslight us, right? Because like it makes the people who are actually paying attention to what's going on seem like they're either conspiracy theorists or nuts, or like they've got some kind of a weird mental issue because they care a lot about a certain subject, and I don't know why they keep talking about it. The Second Amendment, like that's kind of my issue with it. It's like if they were in power, they'd just be like, "Shut up, peon," and then step on you with their heel. I guess maybe that would be worse than making us angry and riling us up and then blaming us for being angry.
Yeah.
It's all that white rage, man. Gotta look out for white rage.
Oh yeah.
Gotta understand it too.
The seething white supremacy.
Yeah. I don't understand. What does the term white rage mean anyway?
I don't know. Honestly.
Like if I were to ask like a social justice warrior fucking like scholar, what would they define it as?
Sounds like it should have been like an energy drink from like the early 2000s.
Oh yeah.
White rage.
This isn't what rock stars use for energy. Sorry. I forget who the stand-up comedian who that was a punchline. Yeah, man, I mean, I feel like that's something that we got to look out for is the language that's going to be used to demonize us and moreover to dehumanize people who believe, and it's not just white and it's not, like it could be any color if you espouse the wrong ideas, which are individuality, individual rights, like, I don't know, a court system that works correctly. Like there's a bunch of stuff that's going on right now that's just insane. What else would you put on the list? I'd say taxes. That's a big one. because
Yeah.
the taxes are implemented in this country are just crazy. It's like you can loophole your way. You can owe millions of dollars and loophole your way out of it. You could pay nothing in taxes and get more money than you ever put into it back. Like I don't know.
And whenever you own something, you don't truly own it, aka your house,
Property
your vehicle,
tax. Yeah.
property taxes.
And the thing of taxes too, like, it'd be one thing if the taxes went towards actually doing, what they're supposed to be doing half the time, but like you see taxes going for road work, and then the roads are still shit, So
I would say another thing is the way that the law system works, right? Like we're supposed to have trial by jury if we're guilty of a crime and they're trying us for the crime. There shouldn't be this whole plea bargain deal system with the courts to give you a lesser charge for a lesser crime that you didn't even commit because it's more expedient for them and you're just admitting guilt. Even if there's cases where people are totally not guilty of the crime, but the prospect of facing the full crime, like the full ramifications of the crime that they're charged with in court versus the plea deal, they just take the plea deal because it's like way less scary. Oh yeah, I'll go to some classes and I'll pay a fine. Or it could be like, I'm not guilty or go to jail, right? Like that's the other side of that coin. So I don't know.
Whereas, you pay a fine or you may spend, a month in jail or 2 or whatever is a whole heck of a lot better than potentially spending, 4, 5, 6 years.
Well, there's just so many laws on the book and so many of them are bullshit. And like, I get the point of a lot of them, right? And I think that a lot of laws that you break and then you would have to do jail time for or whatever are just and are correct.
I think most of them aren't.
But there's a lot of them that aren't. I wouldn't say most even. I don't know. I don't know what percentage, but there's some large number of things that you can do that is considered to be a crime that's against the law that you will get in trouble for if you do and get caught. So
I think majority of them are unjust. That's personal.
And then another thing, like, okay, let's say I don't want to spend a whole shit ton of money to buy a house because that's expensive. So I could spend a couple of grand and get a piece of land and then build a house on it. Oh, wait, except for if I do, the neighbors sue you and there's like local ordinances and minimum standards for everything. And to some extent that makes sense, but I would rather own a piece of shit and build it up better than rent forever. You know what I mean?
You want to build back better?
Build it better. Not building it back, building it bigger, better.
So
we don't want to just build back better. We want to build back better.
What aggravates me is an acquaintance went and bought 2 lots in a subdivision that was under construction, and in the contract for him to buy it, he had to break ground on a house within like 2 or 3 years on the lots, and if not, he would forgo the land back to the developer. And no matter what money he had into it, it would go back. And he ended up paying the land off. He fell in hard times and couldn't do it, and the developer took the land back. How is that? Shit?
That's bullshit. They would. Yeah. I mean, I can understand if it was like, okay, look, we'll pay you back whatever the value of the land is if we take it back, but just to fucking take it back.
It went back.
That's shitty.
Or to be like, hey, there's like if you don't build something in 5 years or whatever, then there's like $1,000 fine per year after that.
No, it's yours. It should be yours whether you want to build on it or not.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I'm just saying, like, that would be better than we're just taking it back, though. They
end up taking it back, building houses on it, and reselling it. And the guy got shafted.
Sucks, dude.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole system is set up so that people like us, people who were, like, honestly, like, we're not the bottom of the world. If you look at, like, I think it's if you make $36,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of people in the world. Maybe that's an old figure now. I'm not sure.
Oh, our poor is still like rich compared to most countries.
But I mean, compared to the rest of the country, if you make 36 grand, you're really not. I mean, you're doing fine. but you're not doing like good. You're not like, because there's people who make 100 times that per month. Like, fuck me. I don't know. I would say another thing that I would put on the list is Guantanamo. I would say indefinite detention, which is what Obama passed under National Defense Authorization, where you can be arrested and indefinitely detained without ever having committed a crime on the suspicion that someday you might.
So, something else is, getting back to the taxation thing, is having the same dollar taxed multiple times.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure, especially when it comes to taxes. Like,
well, income, then you have property, then you have sales, then you have anything and everything else.
Yep, state, local, federal.
I would say for failing to uphold the principles of which your foundations are written, as Matt was saying.
Yep. Because wasn't the tax that we really went to war over was like from like 3 to 4% or something like that?
Yes.
And here, we're at a 32% tax, or 30, whatever.
Well, I was going to say the big thing about the Founding Fathers was the real reason that we went over everything was because of the whole taxation with representation, because obviously we were still considered part of Britain at that point as the colonies, but yet they were trying to tax the colonists without actually giving them a say in the British Parliament.
Right.
Yep. And that's how they get away with all this, is they justify it as, well, you have representation, so we can tax you whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, and then, whatever government, the EPA comes in and says, oh, you got to owe us this much money, and it's not written anywhere.
Now, that's a good one to get rid of. Get rid of the fucking EPA.
99% of the three-letter agencies need to fucking go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That power needs to go back into Congress. Period.
I would say another one would be the way that they've used the media. Because we don't have a free fifth of state, or fourth of state, sorry, whatever it's called. It's totally subverted. I mean, like, they have it written into their laws that they can do this ever since 9/11 happened. That they can influence the media and put their own story. They write their own stories and tell the people who they pay to publish them, and the people who publish them are the people who publish the stories that everyone talks about and gets upset about. Like, the propaganda comes from these people. And I think it was Kennedy who was saying that it's only a well-informed populace that can make decisions that are best for a country, and if we're not well-informed, then we can't make those decisions. Another thing I would say is our endless wars. For what? So that we can perpetuate the petrodollar because you squandered the gold bagged dollar that we were originally using, or at least did use for a while,
How about standing military, period?
Yeah, well, that's another one. Perfect. Although, I mean, I guess you could make a argument for national defense in light of technological advancements, yada yada yada. We don't need the size of military that we have for national defense.
We don't need the offensive military that we've had since World War II.
The National Guard was only supposed to exist for 2 years under the Dick Act.
The Dick Act?
I think it was 1903 is when the Dick Act was created. It was supposed to create our National Guard for 2 years, and at that point, the National Guard was supposed to become state militias again, and they never did.
I hate the Dick Act.
Eminent domain is another big one as well.
Oh, and what about the Social Security? How the government has taken loans against it and drained that. It's our money that they've taken from us.
With a promise to pay back later with inflated money, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all a fucking racket. Everybody fucking knows it. It's just a matter of how bad things have to get for people to stand up and change it. And like the fucking Declaration of Independence was saying earlier, it's not by light reasons. I forget how it puts it. Indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light or transient reasons, and accordingly, all except experience hath shown that mankind in more disposed suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the form to which they are accustomed. Meaning, people don't stand up and do anything until it gets fucking bad. We'll suffer a little bit as long as it's sufferable and keep going and keep the status quo up. But if it gets too bad, but then again, it goes back to the frog in the boiling pot of water. He's sitting there in boiling water only because you slowly heated it up,
Whenever pain becomes normal, you ignore the pain, and then you get more, and then you can tolerate more pain. I mean, I see it all the time at work. It's always like, oh, well, this is going to hurt for a little bit, then we'll get used to it. And then you go
I don't know. I keep going back to we need a Martin Luther King figure today. We also need a declaration of, I wouldn't say independence, but like a line in the sand. This far, no farther. These are the things that we are demanding, really. I mean, we're citizens of this country, right? Like, we're not terrorists. We're not fucking dissidents. We're people who follow the law. We're people who were brought up in this country, who were taught the morals and the standards of the country's founding fathers. And we have an expectation of how those laws need to be carried out today in the country as it is. And if that is not followed, then yes, it is a ultimatum, a line in the sand. God damn it.
So something else is the removal of learning cursive in schools. So you can't read the founding documents. You have to read them online where it's been translated into print.
Is cursive going to be like Sanskrit someday?
Yeah.
It's a lost
language.
There
is. I have a 13-year-old nephew that cannot read cursive.
Well, I guarantee there's an entire generation now that can't read cursive.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I still write in like half cursive, half not cursive.
Same. But there's a lot of kids nowadays, and even I would say even up into their 20s, that they just don't know cursive.
I don't really have a positive or negative view on RICO one way or the other, but civil forfeiture, fuck that shit. Unless you can show that like the drug dealer bought the car with drug money that he made by selling drugs, you don't get to take it. And even then, you got to go to court to do it. And even then, when you go to court to do it, the money from the car that you sell goes to restitution for the people who he harmed, right? But who does a drug dealer harm? I mean,
no one
willingly buying the drug from them, unless it's like something that he put in the drug that is actually like making people sick or something, like a meth dealer that's cooking his own meth in the wrong way or something.
Yeah, but that's still on the buyer, in my opinion.
What other things might you put on the list? That's out to the chat too. If you guys have something that you would put on the list of grievances that you would put in the declaration of line in the sand,
Kyle, he has we should speak about laws that are unconstitutional. We're going to have an end date on this at some point.
There's a lot of unconstitutional laws. There really are. And the most obvious ones to me all revolve around the Second Amendment, because the Second Amendment is so clear in its writing about how it's the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and you shall not infringe upon that right as government. That means everything that the government does that regulates or does anything to the second, my ability to buy or sell or trade or whatever, anything for anything gun-wise, is an infringement upon that right.
Your ability to buy, sell, trade any item. Period.
Well, specifically gun, because
Yeah.
it wasn't enshrined into the Constitution that you should have the right to keep your horse on your land if you want.
Right.
I mean, it's
Because
implied in the right of property and ownership, but it's not like, I don't know.
Well, it's implied in the Constitution, but the gun thing they wanted to be very specific about, because that was the thing they knew, like, that a government would first go after, because it happened to them. So they were like, okay, if we do not make sure we are very, very clear when it comes to the ability to keep and bear arms, then they could find a way to get out of it. So we need to, because that's the thing, that if government gets corrupt, that's what you use to to take care of that issue. So that they knew how important that one was, but that didn't mean that there aren't property rights and all this other stuff. They absolutely believed in that.
That when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them seems most likely to affect their safety and happiness. I mean, that says it right there. That's the point of the Second Amendment. Because without a Second Amendment, how would we affect the kind of change against a tyrannical government that doesn't wish to have that change imposed upon it?
Oh, another thing that is away from the founding of this country is political leaders should be their secondary job, not their primary.
It used to be that way.
They should have that. They should their primary income, their primary livelihood should be from something other than politics.
Justin Grimm says death tax. I don't agree with that. Like, inheritance tax is what you're talking about, right?
Yep.
Which is insane.
It's horrible.
How is that fucking fair? I'm going to tax the money that's already been taxed?
Yeah, that stuff's bullshit.
And it's like 30% or something, isn't it?
Oh, it's a ridiculous amount, yeah.
I thought it was higher than that.
Justin Grimm says lottery money going to schools, yet they don't get it and beg for more money every voting cycle. No, that's just them voting for themselves to get more money. I think that the teachers' unions in general, and I'm sure they do good things, and I'm sure that you could point to instances where they were completely necessary and ended up being righteous, but I think they're fucking poison overall.
I just saw the number.
What else would you put on the list? Come on, guys. I guess I blew through my wad.
So the death tax, I just saw.
I feel it's almost easier to put what you wouldn't put on the list.
Like, hey, you did a good job at what did the government do a good job at?
Nothing.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head.
Military.
No, I mean
Spending money on the military.
no. I disagree with you. That they did a terrible. They won wars, but they did a terrible job at it since then. So I would say one thing is the current government's inability to address laws that are necessary for the public good right now, like in a timely manner.
What about the removal of outdated laws?
I don't know. What I'm saying is there are things that need to be taken care of, like right now, that the laws that are currently out there are either outdated, like you're saying, or don't cover, or are worded incorrectly. Like look at Section 230, or what is it with the internet?
Section 230. Yeah.
Yeah, Section 230. Like that was written in 1996, if I remember correctly, under
I
Clinton.
believe so. Yes.
And that was for a different kind of thing. Like the internet was like AOL, like .com. Welcome, you got mail, like that kind of shit. So they weren't really thinking of social platforms and social media when they were writing this, and when they were, I don't know, they didn't have it extensive enough. The language isn't specific enough, and the implementation of it is lopsided and not fair. And they need to address that, but they haven't because they're sluggish in their government, and it takes them 5 years to even roll over to look at a problem.
Government is supposed to be sluggish, though.
It's supposed to be sluggish, and that's fine. It's built into the institution. The problem is they haven't done anything. Like, I mean, the only person who's even said anything about it is Trump, right? Like, he's the only person in the government that said we need to do something about it, and then nobody does anything about it. It's like,
well, no, because Orange Man bad.
Yeah. Sends mean tweets.
I would say another thing is the government has intentionally been a provocateur in many ways. Look at the overthrow of governments using Soros techniques of governments in South America and implementing new regimes in them. Look at what they did in the Middle East. And then look at what's going on with the control that China has over us today through financial means. Like these international ties that our government has are not a good thing. Not in the way that they're tied anyway.
What about the non-removal of terrorist organizations within the U.S. that are being funded by other governments and outside entities that we know of?
Right, or how they've facilitated the immigration of radicalists who have organized themselves into different cells across the country, which is true. Don't know where all of them are, don't know how many there are, but it's true. And now, that's something that we're potentially going to have to deal with in the future. And like we were talking about last night, I think that's something they're ready and willing to pull the trigger on. Like, they've got a leash on these people, and they can tell them when to go off the leash and, go get into the neighbor's trash, so to speak.
I wonder how many of these organizations are actually funded by our own government for that purpose.
I don't want to say most, but
I would say a decent chunk.
Could be.
I'd say at the very least, even if there's not funding, but to what Honda's saying, I mean, I'm sure there are ways in which they allow these things to go on. They find ways to spur these actions on and these sentiments, and whether or not they actually outright fund, they may open certain doors without letting groups know, yeah, we're helping you and we're funding you, but oh yeah, we saw you digging around on the internet looking for X, Y, and Z, and we just kind of helped you find it a little bit without you knowing, that type of shit.
So one of the things that they wrote about to King George or whatever was that he has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. That was the complaint that they had was, hey, you guys with your soldiers have more guns and more power than we do as civilians, and that's a disparaging thing for us. It's way more lopsided now. I mean, like, Biden was talking about it, and we were joking about it, and I bought an AR-15 that's got fucking F-15s and nukes on the side, but really, I mean, if you think about it, that's kind of the disparity of force that we're talking about.
Yep. I mean, when this country was founded, there was privateers, and now we have the freaking Navy. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, there was dudes who had boats and cannons, and we're like, okay, yeah, we'll contract for you for a while, I guess. Like,
mm-hmm.
They go after him for cutting off trade with all parts of the world. That's true, but they cut off trade for us with parts of the world too. Like, you can't trade with certain areas, and if you go across state lines, there's all of these regulations and shit that you have to deal with. Like, especially if you're talking about like a firearm or something like that, which again goes against the Second Amendment. I mean, like, Jesus Christ, dude.
When was the Commerce Clause? That was that originally written into the Constitution? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I don't know. Let me look it up.
Because that's what they use to regulate interstate commerce, which I think them being able to regulate interstate commerce is completely unconstitutional.
Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 to the Constitution, which gives the power to regulate. Okay, hold on.
Foreign nations. And among the
Commerce
several
Clause,
states,
Article 1, Section 8.
and Indian tribes.
I just don't. I just have a hard time believing that the founders were like, oh yeah, this is certainly That way, if you sell something in one state and to somebody in somebody else another state, you really should get the federal government's permission. Like, I feel like they would have looked at it and go, no, that's not what we meant. Are you fucking stupid?
So it's to regulate commerce with foreign nation and among the several states and with the Indian tribes. So it's actually.
So the origin says this is according to Cornell Law School anyway. The meaning of the word commerce is a source of controversy as the Constitution does not explicitly define the word. Some argue that it refers to simply trade or exchange, while others claim that the framers of the Constitution intended to describe more broadly commercial and social intercourse between citizens in different states. Thus, the interpretation of commerce affects the appropriate dividing line between federal and state power. Moreover, what constitutes, Jesus Christ, interstate commercial activity has also been subject to consistent debate. So it was part of the original framing of the Constitution, but what they're saying is no one really knows what they meant.
So it's one of those things they can just interpret how they want, and
Right,
they have.
Exactly. I think that's one of those things where it's like, hey, we have to move the bar on this over a long period of time, and eventually they can just like change the meaning of words and what people use, and to the point, maybe I guess I'm ascribing fucking intent there, but maybe they did intend to do it. I don't know.
I don't know, but I mean, the idea that the big push for a long time has been to reinterpret what words mean, right? Like, words evolve over time, and that's why we always talk about intent, right? Like, what was the intent of the Constitution? What was the intent of the Second Amendment? Because words do change over time, and what could have meant one thing to them when they were writing that might mean something else to somebody today, or 20 years ago, or 50 years ago, or 100 years ago. I mean, how much shit do we get all the time for a well-regulated militia? Jesus Christ. How many times have I had to explain that shit to people? It's fucking unreal.
How many more times will you have to explain it to people?
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, check this one
The
out.
Infinity Mount. Go ahead.
He has, King George or whoever, fucking England, has excited domestic insurrections amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers and mercantile Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. So what their complaint is that the king conscribed with frontiersmen and Indians and like pirates to attack the people that he was mad at and excite domestic insurrection amongst them, right? And what's happening today? I mean, we got BLM, we've got Antifa with the backing of the government because they don't get in trouble. And then if you do anything, it's an insurrection, right? Like literally, that's what they're calling it. I don't know.
I was going to say a lot of the original thing about them creating this country was because they were trying to force the colonists to pay for the British and Indian Wars. Or, sorry, French and Indian Wars. And they're like, no, we're not paying those taxes. Fuck you.
Yeah, well, Britain was going broke after that and figured, oh, we'll just tax the colonies. They'll help us get back to square one. And yeah, we said no.
I don't know. I feel like there's a similar amount of things on this list to the things that are going on today. And it was enough for them back then to declare their independence. And they risked a lot in writing this, didn't they?
Oh yeah, it was punishable by death. It was treason to the crown. Everyone that signed that, if the Revolutionary War would have went the other way, every one of those individuals would have
been hanged.
found and
Yeah.
executed.
Well, some of them died. I think one of them, his kid was killed. Another one, his wife was taken prisoner and then used as prisoner exchange. Like they traded her for a British officer during the war. Like these people risked a lot. Like a lot of them lost their houses. Their houses were burned down and raided when they were off at war doing something else. And like if they had workers or whatever, I call them workers.
Workers. Yeah.
Well, they didn't anymore, is what I'm saying.
Helper folk.
I don't know. But another way to look at it is it's one group of elites out here telling another group of elites out there that we're the elites over here now and we're in control. Even though they did set up a democratically elected republic. So that's kind of, I think, an oversimplification on its face. Because anyone at that time especially could have run for government. As long as they were well-spoken and had the support of people, they would be elected. So you can't say that now, though. You don't even have to be well-spoken, Biden.
You just have to like your
pressure. What?
You just have to like your pudding.
Can you? I can't do an old man voice. I sound like the dude from Beavis and Butthead. Stop whacking it in my shed. Oh.
Pudding.
You guys want to see something really gross?
Sure.
Dude, leave your pants on.
Well, I will.
I won't.
What do you suppose is about to happen here?
Oh, I've seen this.
Don't say it then, if you've seen it.
I'm not going to.
I don't know. It looks like people mopping the floor
Yeah.
at an airport, maybe? Or
There's
somewhere?
like a subway or something.
Subway, yeah.
Yeah,
Something like
Manhattan, I think it was a subway. New York, Manhattan.
Somebody's going to
Okay.
take a shit in the middle of the floor. Oh, okay. Yep. That was pretty close.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yep, that's what
Wow.
happened.
Gotta love it.
The bar tab of a 1787 farewell party for George Washington is still intact. According to the bill, the Founding Fathers drank 54 bottles of Madeira, 60 bottles of claret, 8 bottles of whiskey, 22 bottles of porter, 8 bottles of hard cider, 12 bottles of beer, and a bowl of alcoholic punch. There were only 55 attendees. Brecken, shut up!
Kids.
Yeah, I believe that because I follow this guy on YouTube and he does like he's an old school style bartender and he's read like bartending books throughout the ages, and like until recent times, like even before Great Depression, like people were constantly drunk because it's what there was to do. You didn't have TV or radio until later on, so like it's what you did.
Well, not only that, but if it was alcohol, you knew that it was safer to drink.
Yeah, it was safe to drink. Yeah, that too.
Out of the streams and stuff around you.
Yep.
It's because we have clean water where our tolerance level has dropped.
Yep.
Well, they had what was called small beer back then. So it was like 1% alcohol beer. It was just enough alcohol to like clean out the water enough so that it didn't kill you. And that's what people drank most of the time. And it wasn't.
Yeah, they were lower proof.
It was just to like make sure that the water. Brecken! For the love of Jesus!
For the love of Night Strike.
God, dude. At least he's having fun.
What, Night Strike or your son?
My son. He's
Both.
laughing too hard. I think she's cute. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I'm reserving judgment because she looks
12, but you know.
Yeah, she
I mean,
looks
if you're into
young.
Whatever.
And I don't.
She's 20-ish.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't know. I don't know who she is, so that's why I'm like
I don't either, but
staying safe.
20-ish.
Yeah, you don't want to get caught by this guy. Hold on, where was he? I actually talked to this dude. He emailed me back, and I was texting back and forth with him. The dad in Colorado that poses as an underage minor to catch child predators. This guy's awesome. He's my hero. I watched like 10 of his videos in the last day, and he just goes right up to people and like he's got a way to like calmly say the thing that I would probably like be punching his teeth out while saying. I don't know, but it's good for camera. Did you guys see this one? No. Chicago. Fucking terrible, dude.
Jesus H. Christ.
Coordination needs a little work, but they got the spirit.
That was like $200
drop
worth
his
of
gun?
ammo and nothing. Such a waste.
I feel like he dropped his gun. It looks like he did.
Mom, can we get rapid deployment teams? We have rapid deployment teams at home.
Yeah, he totally did. He dropped his gun right here. That's what that little blur is right there. Huh. I don't know, man. Like, this is what our country looks like these days. It's either this, or it's shit like this.
Oh, I carry my revolver in single action. Said a 1-month-old child got shot in that shootout.
Yeah, I thought it was a 6-month-old, but yeah.
Fuck.
7 people, including a 6-month-old.
Jeez.
and they were using AKs and shit or something. I don't know what they were. I don't know, man. Shit's crazy. I don't know what to do, guys. What do you think? What should we be doing right now? I'm at a loss. Like, usually I have some sort of plan or some idea of where things are going, or like I know where things are ending up, but
I just watch and keep preparing to support myself and my loved ones for when /if shit pops off.
Well, we got China preparing for war too. You know that, right?
Yeah, I'm not so. I give two shits about them.
Bro.
Yeah, I know. Like I'm not expecting Chinese paratroopers falling from the sky. If it happens, cool. But I'm not.
We are headed to nuclear war with China. We're headed to war with China, and that war is going to be a nuclear war.
I don't think they're going to nuke us because they want to use our land and resources.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why they're using the techniques that they're using right now that you're seeing on the streets. Because that's a way to, create turmoil and perhaps even, a depopulation eventually of the country to some extent.
I think if war actually came with China, there's a chance that strategic nukes could be used.
I could see strategic. I don't think they'd nuke.
I don't think they just nuke. Yeah. No,
I could see a fleet getting nuked, or Taiwan being erased, stuff like that. I
could see them trying to take out Washington in a war, an actual full-on war. One strategic nuke right at the heart of government. And then in addition to that, they hit, fucking our shipyards and stuff like that or whatever. But I just don't see how it can get to that point without us doing something.
That's the thing. There's so much shit that has to get there that's that's why it's so far down on my list of shit to worry about. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I think you guys are right. I think that they would like to keep it to some sort of tactical targets, and let's take the head off the Hydra and that kind of thing, right? But then what's the response from us going to be? We've got all the nukes in the world, or at least we got half of them, right? They're going to pull the trigger. They're going to shoot a bunch of them back. They've got these rockets that go up into orbit that hold 11 fucking nukes. They're 250 times bigger than Hiroshima and Nagasaki combined each. And they've got 11 of them on one rocket. And they just fly over a country and they take out 11 cities. And then, that wasn't enough. Fire rocket number 2. Oh, they shot down that one. Fired 10 of them. You know what I mean? They've got the ability to just fucking destroy the whole. And then once that starts happening, what's China going to do?
But that's the thing. Us retaliating. Let's say they did destroy DC and some of our shipyards and shit like that. We're not just going to try to glass their country. It would be another strategic. Let's hit certain areas here and there. And I don't know that we'd necessarily use nukes because we have missiles and shit where we can be oh, you're in this bunker in this mountain, goodbye to the mountain, and we don't need a nuke to do that. We have ordnance that are plenty large enough to do a lot of damage that aren't nuclear.
The other thing is, there's a reason why everybody, well, at least the major powers, have nukes. And it's literally just something that is really never discussed. And that's because nobody wants to be the one to pull the trigger first, because they know they'll be the second person to fucking get wiped out.
Yeah.
Right. But if two major powers are at war and they both have nukes, and it becomes clear through conventional means that one is gaining a significant advantage over the other on the road to victory, you don't think that the one on the losing side is going to risk nuclear war to win? Especially if you can pull the trigger first, that means you can get your vital assets into fucking cover before you press the trigger, so it's ideal for you to attack first. There's whole war game strategies,
I'm sure, yeah.
Of people going through these scenarios, dude.
Oh, I'm sure there is a book somewhere that the president has access to that says, if A happens, we do B. If A and B happen, we do C. If X happens, we do Y. I mean, I'm sure there are strategies, strategists and generals have been fucking thinking this shit. Every time they find out some new piece of intelligence from China or Russia or wherever, they get back in the book and they go, okay, now we got to account for this. And, you know, and I'm sure it's all calculated, and it's really just, I'm sure there's no like last minute, oh, well, what are we going to do? It's like, look at the book, motherfucker. We've been planning for literally every scenario. What is our response to this specific scenario? Because we knew they were building more silos or whatever the fuck they were doing, or the islands and the fucking that they're building up. Like, I guarantee you, there is a book somewhere just sitting there, or a fucking thumb drive, I don't fucking know, that has the answers to every single fucking scenario.
Yeah,
and I bet the answer to most of those is not send a nuke.
Yeah, nuke. And I think nuke is so far down that list, as Matt was saying. Like, there's so much shit that has to happen. Nuke is such a last resort type situation that I just don't see.
I bet there are even scenarios for, well, if they decided to nuke Washington, what would we do? And I'd be willing to bet it's not nuke them immediately.
Yeah.
It's they took one city. We have other resources all around the world. We cannot start a fucking nuclear war. So there would be other scenarios that they would use to handle it first. It wouldn't be until you got to a certain level, and it would be like, okay, this is it. Like, there's no other choices.
And even the whole concept with taking the city via nukes, like, there's plenty of ordinance that, like, if they wanted to wipe out DC, or if we wanted to wipe out Hong Kong, like, we could do that with a couple missiles that weren't nukes. Like, wouldn't be hard.
We could fucking level Beijing without nuclear weapons.
Yeah, it wouldn't be hard.
We could do it pretty fucking quick.
Yeah.
Couple of bombers flying, these fucking bombers fly so goddamn high.
Not even that, just a couple cruise missiles or something, or just like
drop about 15 Moabs over Beijing and see what happens.
How big is a Moab compared to a nuke?
Look up a Moab, like.
And what's the one that's even bigger than that? The FOAB, right? The
father of all bombs. Yeah.
Yeah, look up FOAB and Moab. The FOAB is the bigger one.
Like, there's a video of a Moab removing a mountain.
Yeah.
Because I think they finally. I forget if I want to say it was Afghanistan. They got to drop one. Like, the mountain just disappears.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think at this point in our technological history, they probably have multiple thumb drives just sitting around that are all different books of scenarios for everybody. They're all encrypted, and then they probably have like one or two hard copies in certain strategic locations.
Okay, so here's this little dot right here that you can't even see on my screen. That's Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma, yeah.
This one is the Moab. That's this little dot that you can barely see. That's the Moab. This one is Little Boy. Hiroshima.
Hiroshima, yeah.
There are bombs that are 1,000 times bigger than Little Boy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Nowadays, fuck yes.
So versus Moab, like, Jesus, dude.
Well, one Moab would, like, if you dropped that in the middle of downtown Beijing, would probably take out every skyscraper in, what would you say, a quarter-mile radius?
Let's see.
It would
probably something like that.
And it would directly take out the ones right where it hit. It would easily take out multiple city blocks worth of.
It looks like it's about, I don't know, several times bigger than Oklahoma City as far as magnitude. So yeah,
yes.
It's 0.002 kilotons was Oklahoma City. A Moab is 0.011. So it's 5 times bigger than Oklahoma City.
So you drop a few of those over Beijing, and then they're.
I'm not saying it's a small bomb. I'm just saying compared to a nuke.
Well, yeah, I know.
But it's a lot less. Again, like, if your goal is to destroy that area and occupy it, like, you can occupy after a Moab. Like, you drop some nukes on it, like, not going to really occupy that or use that property in the future.
Daniel dropped in $5. Thank you, man. It says, our current response to getting hit once is called massive retaliations. It means exactly what it sounds like. See, that's what I thought too. I don't want to say it because I didn't know, but I'm pretty sure if they nuke fucking anywhere in the continental United States, especially fucking DC, we're sending enough nukes to blow their whole country and turn it into glass. I'm pretty sure that's the fucking response. Because if you do a measured response, it gives them a chance to do the same to you, and then you're nothing but glass.
I just looked it up. A FOAB is 4 times stronger than a MOAB.
Yeah, I knew it was.
And it says it's designed to break up and incinerate targets like nuclear weapons without the radioactive fallout.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You're a FOAB.
Damn straight. I'm the bomb, bitch.
Did you hear Brian Stelter attacking Tucker Carlson, comparing him to Alex Jones?
Wow.
Yeah, he did this video where it like took like 2 things that Tucker Carlson said and 2 things that Alex Jones said that both on their face were, you know, a little risque, let's say, but also both very true, it ends up, and saying because they're saying the same things that they're the same person and we should treat them the same and we should get Tucker Carlson taken off of TV like we got Alex Jones taken off the internet. Alex Jones was the canary in the coal mine for this whole thing. He was the first one to get banned. He was the first one who it was while Trump was still in office, right? Trump didn't do anything about it. No one did. No one cared. And it's that old saying of like, first they came for Alex Jones, and then they came for Stefan Molyneux. By the time they came for me, there was no one left to defend me, and I never said anything. I forget the saying exactly, but you guys know what saying. Go, you know the thing.
Pudding.
Important pop.
Dick goes in and says, first you turn the whole country into glass with thermonuclear bombs. Then you shatter the glass with bunker busters. Then you till the land. Sorry I don't have more to talk about, man. I blew my whole wad last night. I blew like multiple wads. And by the way, tack race worked like a charm. I didn't feel 100% today, but I didn't feel as shitty as one might think I might have based upon speech
Your
patterns
performance.
and such. Oh God, what is this?
I don't know. I'm afraid to look.
Oh!
Ooh.
Oh!
No. Do not do this.
Ah!
And that's how you lose an eye.
Why would you do that?
Fucking dumbass.
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
You couldn't pay me money to do that.
No. I don't know why you did that.
What in the actual fuck, dude?
Hey, man, when someone offers you a pack of Newports, you know.
Fuck.
Can we see that again?
I don't want to watch that again.
No, I really don't want
I
to.
want to see the end part. Like, I want to see, does he have an eye left? Does he, like, pop back up? Or does it just end right there?
That just ends. That's
Okay.
it.
Man.
Probably a reason for that.
God, dude.
I want to take my eyelid off.
I just don't understand. I can hear all the fireworks going off outside, and they're all illegal. Because they canceled
Same.
the one that was right down the street from me.
Same here.
And I wonder, because they do have the gunshot recognition system. I don't know what it's called. They've got that in Denver. So that shit just got to be going crazy right now. Oh, man. I keep blocking these things. I'm going to keep blocking them on Twitter till I don't see them anymore. Those things where you click on something because you're like, oh, that's a hot chick, or oh, I want to see that, or oh, that's a cool fact, I want to know it. And then it's like 70 pages of clicking through shit and you never actually see the chick or learn the thing. makes me upset. A lot of things make me upset, apparently. It's all my white rage. I can't help it. I need to learn about it.
White rage.
White rage.
So the new thing is to hate the Declaration of Independence. Have you heard this? That's
No.
a new thing because apparently it has a racist slur against indigenous people in it.
It does. It says savages in it. We read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we should hate it. Okay. I mean, obviously you wouldn't say that now, but you know.
Yeah, I saw Maxine Waters going off on a fucking high horse again about it earlier today, and I'm like, just shut the fuck up, bitch. We don't need your shit around here anymore.
He has excited domestic insurrection amongst us and endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, with whom rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. Basically, yeah, it does say that the Native Americans were just like ruthless murderers. It does say that. They do have a point, but you don't hate the whole thing because of a sentence. Double Dog 17013 says, I actually heard yesterday that most shot recognition software can actually differentiate between fireworks and firearms. I wonder how they do that. Maybe it's the report of the bullet as it breaks the sound barrier. You kind of hit
Correct.
get
Yeah.
like a bang crack with a fucking gun, you know?
So shoot 45 ACP because it is subsonic.
22 out of a pistol. Got it.
There you go.
Colt 45 and 2 zigzags. Maybe that's all we need. There was another story I wanted to cover. Hold on. There was something that I saw. Bear with me.
While you're doing that, I want to read something to the audience. Donald Trump was not a Russian spy, but Mike Pence was. Things escalated in Trump's second term after a major Alex Jones conspiracy turns out to be true. Yes, Vladimir Putin identifies as a 6-year-old girl and sometimes had tea parties with Pence to talk about world domination. Shamed by the truth and sadness that Alex Jones is the most honest man in the world, all-out war ensues. Kim Jong-un slighted that he was never invited to get-togethers. He loves Earl Grey tea. Also uses his nuclear arms to make a point that baby will never be put in the corner. The story of heroes opens with G-Webs, Bob, Matt, Schmeggy, Dano, and Island sitting around a campfire, eating canned beans they've scavenged. Yankee sits in a corner, stroking the leftovers of his Chiappa Rhino collection, which all but nearly evaporated just from the initial blast. All he has left is a revolver and 9mm and no moon clips. Mosin prices continue to skyrocket. That is the intro to Shit Hit the Fan story time.
Yep.
That was well written. Well written, whoever wrote that.
We definitely do need an updated version though, because
Yeah.
while Mosin prices do continue to skyrocket, like
we gotta. It can't be like Trump and Pence. It's gotta be Kamala and Biden.
Everything continues to skyrocket. I don't even know the last time Yankee talked about Chiappa.
Yeah.
Half those people that were mentioned, like, we haven't heard from them for a while.
Yeah, I know. It's like Bob doesn't come to chats anymore. Smeggy's, I don't know what he's doing.
Dano's never around.
Island, occasionally I see him post stuff, but yeah.
What was that? That was, like 2016, 2017, something like that?
It had to be. Well, it was after the election. I know that. So probably in 2017, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it was probably 2017. Like you started reading that, and I started thinking back to like where I was when that story was first read. Yeah, so it was 2017 because I was in the basement of my ex's house at my desk, my little office I had set up.
God, this story was awesome.
how close do you guys think that we are to like economic collapse in this country?
It
'Cause
depends.
I would argue that we're closer than we've ever been, at least in my lifetime.
I mean, it depends, right? Like 2008 was pretty fucking bad. I think the groundwork is laid to where it could be pretty good, but only if they want it to. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Well,
I feel
see,
like
the
this
thing
is-
about 2008 though is 2008 was bad. You're right, but they didn't fix the problem. They put a Band-Aid on it, right? And now in 2021, it's a festering wound that's now gushing like poisonous fucking infected blood, not just blood. You know, like it's way worse now than it is then. I would argue.
well, the potential's way worse for sure because we haven't. You're right. We haven't fixed anything. We've driven up our debt. We've fucking printed more money and just all kinds of shit. The groundwork is there. You know, the foundation's laid down. It just depends on what happens, what they do with it. You know, that's the question. Does last minute? Does you know? Or you know, do they go? You know what? Let's just fucking run it into the ground and fuck everybody. You know what I mean? I think there is part of that. But I mean, who knows, right? Like, I think they definitely do want to run shit into the ground, but I don't know if they're going to be able to accomplish it. The other thing is, I mean, what happens if last minute we get a fucking, you know, a Calvin Coolidge that fucking somehow takes office? That motherfucker showed up after Woodrow Wilson and Harding, who both spent all their time fucking shit up, and he came in there and it's like, no, we're not doing this anymore. He cut the fucking debt in half in his first year, and then 2 years later cut that in half again. It was like, no, we're not spending any more fucking money. Sorry, get on board because I'm not going to sign anything. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not letting you spend any more fucking money. You're going to stop paying your fucking banker buddies shit. You're going to stop giving sweetheart deals to your friends. You know, straighten the fuck up, and that's it. Period.
What happens to the U.S. economy if they do that today? If they stop injecting money into the economy, injecting money into the stock market, paying people not to work, paying people unemployment, paying people who were injured, paying people who were too old and retired.
It'll be a rough transition, but we'll come out of it the other side way, way, way fucking better. But it would suck for a while.
It would suck real bad for a long while. I don't know how long, but it would suck for a good couple
years.
Yeah.
So, but I would take it, you know, because it would be good for us in the long run. It'd be good for my kids, and that means more to me than anything. You know what I mean? To have a chance for them to not grow up with shit even worse than it is today, but maybe better.
What are the odds that we actually do that, though?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It seems
far-fetched.
Yeah, it seems it's depressing to think about. It seems like a long shot, but I don't know.
It's a super long shot for all the reasons already described, which is why we need fucking Martin Luther King 3. Like, Senior didn't do much. Junior was a good guy. We need the third one who's even better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where do we go from here? Like, what do we continue to do now? Just hunker down and keep buying food and ammo and guns and supplies and medicine and gear and
and keep doing this shit
and keep getting ready because
keep talking to people.
Coming.
Share information. This is why I really enjoy doing hasty headlines, is because, and I know most, you know, I'm not trying to fucking pretend like, oh, I do such good shit, because that's not what I'm saying. But not everybody can know everything that's going on every day, right? And it would be nice if we could. All the little shit, because all the little shit can add up, you know? There's a lot of little shit out there. Sometimes the stories that we talk about on this show or hasty headlines or the podcast or whatever, right? Sometimes they're big stories, big deals, and we got to let everybody know what's going on and give everybody our opinions on it, and, you know, let them noodle out what they think. And sometimes it's like, well, there's not a lot of big things going on in the world, but it's a whole bunch of little shit. You know what I mean? and people need to know. So these kinds of things are important. I would encourage everybody out there, if you have a fucking computer, start doing a chat where you're talking to people online. You know what I mean? Get out there and get a voice, because who knows who the next fucking Alex Jones who gets removed is. It could be me. It could be Honda. It could be huge channels. It could be fucking Yankee. It could be fucking Tim Pool. It could be anybody. So it's important that there are lots of people out there fucking spreading the information. And as of right now, we can still do it here. You know? I think that shit's important. And now I have to go for a minute because I have to bring groceries in.
None of us are as great as all of us. And that's another thing too, is like if you guys have some story and you don't want to start a chat, let's say, but you have something that Matt or I or someone who does could talk about and needs to know about. I mean, like, I've got a Discord. I take messages on YouTube, I guess. Like, wherever you want to get a hold of me, that's fine. And I know Matt's the same. And if you have some good story or piece of information that people need to know about, like, I think that it would be fortuitous for you to share it with the proper people. And I think you could become one of those people, like Matt's saying, but not everybody wants to do that. And if you don't, I understand. And you could, in that case, if you find some information, some local story, something that we wouldn't necessarily hear about, like, yeah, share it along. I agree with that. Daniel dropped in $2. So the difference now is our debt is unpayable. It's true. Our debt is pretty much unpayable at this point.
Yeah, I think if we're going to have some kind of a person to step through that would actually take us down to a reasonable thing again, it would have to be a post-collapse type of thing, and we'd have to come back after that. And it would be that refounding of this country that would actually be what leads to the better men and women in power at that point.
Not if the social engineers continue to remain in control of the narrative that most people hear, which to this point has been true.
What I'm specifically talking about would be a mix between a second civil war and a second revolution entirely.
Like I said, payable, not playable. I read it as payable anyway, so. But yeah. I get it, man. Like, what is the, I think the total amount of money that the middle class pays collectively, right? Like, all middle class in America, all the taxes that all of them pay collectively together covers roughly the amount of interest on the debt that we already have per year. And that if you take all of the money that the rich, like the top, like 10% or 5% or whatever they consider, I forget what chart it was that I was looking at where they put that line, but all of the taxes that they pay combined equals roughly what the military-industrial complex pays for, right? And everything on top of that the government does, all the social programs and build back betters and roads and bridges and shit like that programs, comes from borrowing or printing money. But if we didn't have that huge debt, think about how much money, like just paying the normal taxes that we pay, we could have like all of the fucking benefits,
Well, it's not only that, but then it's also look at all the stupid shit they're going for with all the taxation. Like, I know around here, it was supposed to be allocated for roads, and what are they doing? They're building fucking roundabouts that cost millions of dollars for no other reason than to be like, oh, we got all this money now, let's build and half that money, the worst part of it is half that money is supposed to be going to actually getting more policing in the cities around here that are Democrat-run shitholes. And because there's no police to be had now, because there's no money to pay them, now you have massive crime increases there.
Well, again, I think that goes to where they're pushing things, right? Because if you have an actual human police force with the ability to say, no, I'm not enforcing that law, that's tyrannical, then they can say, no, I'm not enforcing that law, it's tyrannical, and they can't do whatever they want. But if they poison the people against the police, which is honestly, I think, the point of what they've been trying to do, and defund them to the point where they're ineffective, which is what is happening right now, then you can replace them with some sort of a technological solution to the problem that cannot tell you, no, that's tyrannical, I'm not doing it, because it's Terminator, you know?
Or at the very least, like RoboCop.
No, it'll be DARPA dogs that think for themselves. It'll be flying drones that track where you're going. It'll be a computerized, technocratic fucking system that listens to every phone call and text message and like every utterance that you make in front of a microphone that happens to be in your vicinity. And that information is going to be collated by a super smart AI computer that can identify you as a person as a potential point of interest or future threat. And there's going to be oh, well, we got to arrest this guy even though he's never done anything wrong because of what he might potentially do based upon this algorithm that we've come up with that's proven to be correct in the past, right? Arrest him, put him in jail, indefinite detention, which is part of the laws that they have on the book, and they're just going to expand that, dude. Like, just look at where things are going. And why are they doing that? Because there's people that are going to be against what they want to do. They've got Agenda 2030, they've got Agenda 2021, or 21, rather, fucking that they've talked about that you're supposedly not be able to speak about on YouTube, but I do anyway. And all of these things spell out where they want it to go, and they're right on track. We are on the train tracks, destination hell, bro.
Yeah, it's definitely going to get worse before it gets better, for sure.
I mean, I don't know if hell's the destination, but it's a major stop. Like...
I mean, there's many circles of hell. It depends on which one you want to go to, is what it is.
Dan dropped in $2 more. Thanks, man. I really do appreciate it. It says, think a Soviet-style dissolution is coming. And honestly, I think that's what they want, because they want to replace the capitalist system with some sort of a new-aged, like, version of not even socialism. It's going to be communism, because everything will be owned by the state, right? Socialism implies at least some ownership, right? You will own nothing and you will be happy. How do you get from here to there? We're on the road, bro.
Well, see, and I think, again, with that kind of a deal, you would almost see a balkanization of this country at that point, because you look, even just looking at the 2020 election map specifically, and you look at the different red states compared to the different blue states, you would definitely see this country fracture in half at that point. People ain't putting up with that shit.
Well, how many people would you will have nothing and you will be happy be an improvement for?
There's definitely some that would go along with it, especially because, I mean, look at how many people recently have tried to petition for UBI now.
Right, because they've got the idea in their head, and everyone got a taste of it during the COVID. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people got a taste of that during the COVID lockdown. Free money from the government for doing nothing, you know.
But these are also the same people that have been shitting on our Constitution for their entire lives. And they could not care less about actually being a citizen and then much rather be a serf. So in that case of things, I think you would see that fracturing of them being the ones that want it versus the people that are like, no, we're still going to have our independence. Go fuck yourself. We'll be over here. If we want to build a wall between us and you, that's what's going to fucking happen then.
X-Adam1 dropped in a super chat for $1 million. How long will it be before his $2 that he just dropped in buying power equals $1 million? As in, how long until $1 million? Yeah. How long until $1 million is worth $2 today?
$10:30.
All right, well, we've been going about an hour and a half, which is how long we normally go for the Gay Frog chat. If you guys have any chat suggestions that you'd like to drop in, please stop by the Discord. There's a whole page for that sort of thing. If you have a link or a story that you want to talk about, or hell, if you even want to be on the show, let me know there, and we'll definitely consider what you have to say. Also, we'll be back tomorrow night on the Guns and Geeks podcast with Never Enough Ammo. At what time does that start, Matt?
8 Central.
8 p.m. Texas time, which is the worst time if you ask me, but, you know, we'll go by that.
They call it Central for a reason. It's the Central time.
because it
with
sucks
which all other fucking
centrally the most.
times revolve around.
I thought that was that spot in England.
Nope, it's here.
It's on the prime meridian.
No, just here.
Okay, well, you know, Texas is better. Anyway, guys, I do appreciate everyone for showing up. I appreciate everyone on the panel. And if you do have anything that you want to promote real quick, go ahead and shout it out.
You got another super chat.
Oh, now we got $2 million for $4 from X Adam 1. Super chat, as Matt would say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, guys, I really do appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow night. We'll be talking, I don't know, geek stuff, and I'm going to try to steer us towards guns and cool shit. So,
Well, remember, tomorrow night is now the free-for-all chat, so it's everything.
we'll see you for the free-for-all. Anyway, peace out, guys. Have a good night.